This is my go-to chocolate cake recipe. It makes the softest, fudgiest, and most decadent chocolate cake covered with chocolate. Definitely be wanting another slice of this one. Welcome to Recipes by Karina, where I share with you how to make classic and simply delicious recipes. Make sure to follow my page or subscribe for a new recipe each week. To start making this chocolate cake, in a large bowl measure out the dry ingredients. We're going to need 3 cups or 375 grams of all-purpose or standard flour. You'll notice I give the measurements in cups and grams, so no matter where you live in the world, you should find this recipe easy enough to follow. This makes a pretty large chocolate cake, enough for 2 or 3 layers depending on your preferences. If you would like to just make a single layer chocolate cake, you can easily enough halve the recipe. For the printable version, follow the link to my website. The full list of ingredients will also be listed in the description box below. Since this is a chocolate cake, we're going to need 1 cup or 100 grams of a really good quality unsweetened cocoa powder. This is where you're going to get all of that delicious chocolate flavour from, so make sure you're using a good one. Cocoa powder can often be clumpy, so if yours is, make sure to use a sieve to remove any lumps. Next up, we'll need our rising agents, and this recipe uses both 2 teaspoons of baking powder and baking soda. The baking soda is going to react with the acids in the cocoa powder to give a really delicious airy texture to the cake, and the baking powder is going to help with just that little bit of extra lift. Make sure you are using both baking powder and baking soda here, as these are 2 different ingredients that give a similar result but actually work in different ways. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite flavour of cake is. I have a feeling for most people that's chocolate cake. It's a delicious crowd pleaser, but if you do want to try something different though, I have a delicious vanilla cake recipe, or one of my favourites is banana cake with brown sugar buttercream. Incredible! Lastly, add a good pinch of salt to the dry ingredients. This helps bring out that chocolate flavour, and use a whisk to combine the ingredients well. Set the bowl to the side while we work on the wet ingredients. In a medium-sized mixing bowl, measure out the sugar. We'll need 2.5 cups or 300 grams of granulated white sugar to sweeten things up. You can use brown sugar here instead. It will give the cake a little more of a caramel-like flavour, but I prefer using white. This may seem like quite a bit of sugar, and it is, but remember this makes a pretty large cake and it's not overly sweet at all. One great thing about this chocolate cake, and it's kind of different to other cakes in the way that it actually has a better flavour and texture the day or 2 after you bake it. The flavours have time to just intensify and it gets a much better fudgier texture. If you are planning on making it for an occasion, I would recommend to bake the cake one day, leave it overnight and decorate it the next day. There's no chance it'll dry out, trust me on this one. Of course it is still amazing the day you bake it, but it'll stay fresh for at least 3 to 4 days. The next ingredient we'll need is eggs. I'm using 3 large size eggs here, but if you did want to halve the recipe, you can get away with using 2 small sized eggs. Make sure your eggs are at room temperature, and if you do store them in the fridge, just get them out about an hour or so before you start baking. Before I started baking, I poured 1.5 cups of whole milk and 1 tablespoon of vinegar in this jug, gave it a quick mix and let it sit for about 5 minutes. This curdles the milk and kind of turns it into a type of buttermilk. You can use buttermilk for this recipe if you have it on hand, but making this milk mixture actually works much better as it has a lot thinner of a consistency. Pour it into the bowl with the other wet ingredients followed by the oil. We'll need 3/4 cup or 190 ml of a flavourless oil like canola, sunflower or vegetable. Stay away from stronger oils like olive as the flavour does tend to push through the finished cake. Follow up with a tablespoon of vanilla essence or extract and use a whisk to combine the wet ingredients together. The last ingredient we'll need is 1.5 cups of strong hot coffee. This cake needs coffee. Even if you're not a fan of coffee, you won't taste it in the finished cake. You can use instant, espresso, or whatever you have on hand. Make sure it's really hot and pour it over the dry ingredients. The hot coffee will help to bloom the cocoa powder, giving it more flavour. Pour the rest of the wet ingredients into the bowl with the dry ingredients and hot coffee and start to mix it together with a whisk. You should end up with quite a thin and liquidy batter that's exactly what you want for chocolate cake. It doesn't matter if there are small lumps, just make sure you've got all of the dry flour incorporated from the bottom of the bowl. Divide the chocolate cake batter between 2 or 3 8-inch or 20cm lined and greased cake pans, depending if you want to make 2 or 3 layers to the finished cake. Place the cake pans into a 180°C or 350° preheated oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. Make sure the centre of the cake springs back when pressed, or a cake tester comes out clean before taking the cakes out of the oven. There are a few different options when it comes to frosting or icing the cake. I'm sharing with you how to make delicious chocolate cream cheese frosting, which I think is the best combo as it's tangy and not too sweet, which means it pairs perfectly with the chocolate cake, but you can also make a chocolate buttercream, or even a whipped chocolate ganache would be decadent. To make the chocolate cream cheese frosting, in the bowl of your stand mixer or a large bowl if you're using a hand mixer, and in the room temperature butter. Beat on medium speed for 2 to 3 minutes or until the butter is light and fluffy and almost doubled in volume. Follow with the cream cheese and mix again for a further minute until incorporated. Add 3 cups or 375 grams of icing sugar or powdered sugar to the bowl. These are both the same ingredient, just different names in different parts of the world, and half a cup or 50 grams of cocoa powder. The full recipe will be on my website, as well as the full measurements listed in the description box below. With the machine running, slowly pour in 1 to 2 tablespoons of milk. Scrape down the sides of the bowl to make sure everything is evenly combined and add 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence or extract. Beat the chocolate cream cheese frosting for another minute or 2 until it is light and fluffy. To assemble your chocolate cake, start with one of the cake layers. You can use a serrated knife to level it, but these do bake pretty evenly, so it's not a necessity. Place about 3/4 of a cup of the chocolate cream cheese frosting on the cake and use an offset spatula to spread it evenly. Top with another cake layer and repeat the process. When it comes to doing the final cake layer, turn it upside down so the bottom is facing up. This helps get a more even looking cake. Spread the top and sides with the frosting. There's no need to do a crumb coat here unless you really want it to look perfect, but that's not really my style. Place the cake in the fridge for at least 30 minutes just to let it set before serving. Cut a slice and enjoy. This cake is fudgy, decadent and delicious. I really hope you give it a try. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.